Okay, does it ever feel like the world is just split in two? Like it's being pulled in two completely opposite directions at the same time? Well, what if I told you that feeling isn't just in your head? It's actually a secret rhythm, a hidden pulse that has shaped pretty much all of human history. Let's dive in.
I mean, just look around right now. On one side, we've got hyperlogical AI just exploding into every corner of our lives. It's pure, cold, data-driven reason. And then, at the very same moment, there's this massive cultural boom in mindfulness, meditation, and pure experience. So how can that be? How can these two polar opposites be peaking at the exact same time? It seems like a total paradox, but it's not. It's a clue, a massive one. And the difference between these two is just stark. You've got AI on one side, running on algorithms, systematic, rule-based, data-driven decisions. Then you have mindfulness on the other, which is all about associative awareness, intuitive, symbolic, present-moment focus. It's calculation versus experience. We're truly talking about two fundamentally different ways of engaging with reality.
So, how on earth do we make sense of this split? Well, we need a new way of looking at it, a framework. And that framework is called the Brain Kinematics Model, or BKM for short. The core idea is simple. Human thought has always operated in two basic modes.
First up, there's what's called the algorithmic base. You can just think of this as your inner reasoner. This is the part of your mind that loves spreadsheets, follows instructions, and builds things step by step. It's systematic, it's logical, and neurologically, it's run by the brain's CEO, the prefrontal cortex.
And then you've got the flip side, the emotional base. This is your inner mystic. This mode isn't about steps, it's about symbols, poetry, and raw experience. It's that gut feeling you can't explain, or getting totally lost in a piece of music. This comes from the deep, ancient, emotional core of our brain, the limbic system.
Now, this isn't just some abstract theory, right? You can see these two modes perfectly embodied in some of history's greatest thinkers. You have your reasoners, like Aristotle, who is obsessed with logically categorizing everything. And then you have your mystics, like the poet Rumi, who wasn't trying to define divine love. He was trying to drown in it. Or Nietzsche, whose philosophy reads more like a passionate poem.
And here is where it gets really mind-blowing. This tension, this dynamic between the reasoner and the mystic isn't new. It's not a 21st century thing. The BKM model suggests that all of human history is basically a great cognitive tug-of-war, a constant back-and-forth swing between these two ways of thinking.
And you can see this rhythm play out so clearly across the timeline. Early history is just dominated by myth and ritual, pure mystic mode. Then, boom. The axial age hits, and you get this huge surge of rationalism with Plato and Confucius. Later, the Enlightenment brings another massive wave for the reasoners, with Descartes and Newton, which is, of course, met by the huge emotional counterreaction of the Romantics. It's this constant push and pull.
But here's the thing. These waves weren't all created equal. Inside this long, rhythmic dance, there was one single moment that changed the game forever. A point where the balance of power between the reasoner and the mystic tilted. And it never really tilted all the way back.
And that pivot point was right around the year 1500. This is the moment when our modern world wasn't just born on a map, you could argue it was born cognitively. The very software of the human mind got a major update. So what happened? Why then? Well, it was a perfect storm of innovations. The printing press put systematic, logical thought into everyone's hands. Copernicus didn't just move the Earth, he replaced myth with math. You even see it in art with the invention of geometric perspective. All of a sudden, the tools of the reasoner became way more powerful and widespread than the tools of the mystic. The fancy term for this in the BKM model is a phase wave inversion. But think of it like this. Before 1500, humanity's default operating system was Mystic OS. After 1500, we installed Reasoner OS. And that's been the dominant program our culture has been running ever since. This whole idea brings up a pretty wild question, though. If our way of thinking changed that dramatically, did our brains, physically change too? Did we evolve a new kind of brain? And the answer is a classic no, but yes. No, the physical hardware of the brain didn't change. But yes, the software we ran on it, the neural networks we prioritized, absolutely did. In rational eras, we fired up the prefrontal circuits for logic and systems. In emotional eras, we leaned on the limbic and associative networks for vision and symbols. We were just running different programs on the same incredible machine.
Okay, let's look at a really clear, more recent example of this counterbalance in action. I'm talking about the 20th century clash between the cold, hard logic of science and the wild, untamed world of surrealism.
So you've got science, the ultimate reasoner, just crushing it, explaining the external world, from atoms to galaxies. So what does art do? It doesn't even try to compete on that turf. Instead, it pivots hard. It turns completely inward to explore the one territory science couldn't map, the unconscious mind, dreams, the bizarre. One force created a vacuum, and the other rushed right in to fill it.
You can hear the reasoner's worldview perfectly in this quote from the philosopher Bertrand Russell. The good life is one inspired by love and guided by knowledge. See that? Love is the inspiration, sure, but knowledge, logic, is the guide. The reasoner is in the driver's seat.
Now compare that to Andre Breton, the founder of surrealism. He says the imaginary is what tends to become real. For him, the source of truth isn't out there in the world of facts and knowledge. It's here, in the world of imagination. It's a perfect expression of the mystic's view, a total flip.
Okay, so let's bring all of this home. What does this grand historical pattern mean for us right now? Let's go all the way back to that original paradox we started with, the rise of AI and mindfulness.
And with this historical lens, it's not a contradiction at all, is it? It's the pattern. It's that ancient tug-of-war playing out in real time on steroids. As our inner reasoner builds its ultimate tool, artificial intelligence, our culture instinctively creates its most powerful counterbalance yet, a massive collective turn toward the inner world of the mystic. This is history's rhythm happening right before our eyes.
Which brings us to one final, and I think really crucial question. We live in a world that is absolutely saturated by the algorithmic, by the systems and data of the reasoner. And if thousands of years of history tell us anything, it's that for a healthy culture and for a healthy mind, that requires a balance. So I'll leave you with this. What's yours?